So welcome to the 20th SOAFAL oration. SOAFAL is Siksha Anusandan fortnightly academic lecture, and today we are gathering here to listen to the 20th SOAFAL oration on the annual theme of integrated maritime studies and research, and this is the overall 70th SOAFAL oration. The whole Siksha Anusandan fortnightly academic lecture started sometime in February 2021, and we have completed already 69 orations uninterruptedly, and after completion of 25 SOFAL orations we have compiled it into a annual commemorative volume, and we have already published two such volumes, and this will be the third volume in the offing. And this has speciality in the sense that this is a specific annual topic of integrated maritime studies, so that this will have a research value. This can be referred as a research material. So I welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Pradipta Kumar Nanda. I welcome today's speaker, Dr. P.K. Ghosh, and I have the privilege of introducing today's speaker to the audience. Just a simple bio sketch of Dr. P.K. Ghosh. Dr. Prabal Ghosh is an ex-SEAS fellow who has had the rare privilege of being the lead co-chairman and India representative to two consecutive CSCAP international study groups. He has served in senior research positions in many strategic think tanks. He has been the senior fellow at the Observer Research Foundation and the Center for Air Power Studies. He was the first senior fellow, de facto research director of the National Maritime Foundation NMF, an organization that he helped in establishing. Here I just want to mention for the benefits of the audience that this university has a memorandum of understanding with the National Maritime Foundation to implement a joint project of Indian knowledge system under the Ministry of Education, Government of India. And our two OTICS intern for 2023 are in NMF for the last leg of their 3 months physical internship. Dr. Ghosh held the prestigious Professor D.S. Kothari DRDO Chair of Research Excellence at the USI United Services Institutions, and earlier had been a research fellow at the Institute for Defense Studies and Analysis ITSA for 4 years. He was the coordinator and the NMF convener of the major Pan-Indian Ocean Maritime Initiatives, IONS, Indian Ocean Naval Symposium, that he helped in conceptualizing from scratch. A Navy veteran, he has commanded a large amphibious ship. He has been a guest professor at the Stockholm University and is a very frequent strategic commentator on national and international TV channels. Dr. Ghosh has traveled extensively around the globe for participating in seminars and for delivering guest lectures. He has written books, monographs, and numerous peer-reviewed and non-peer-reviewed articles in his areas of specialization. Here I also want to request specifically Dr. P.K. Ghosh to help our interns and other research scholars and interns to in the preparation of some Scopus indexed research articles on integrated maritime studies, especially related to his area of specialty and interest. I am also thankful to Professor Rajaram Panda, who was kind enough in roping in Dr. P.K. Ghosh to this prestigious SOFAL oration. We are so very happy to have you, sir, and we are eagerly waiting to listen to you on the topic of maritime threats and challenges and power dynamics in the Indian Ocean region, some Indian response strategies. Before that, it's my proud privilege to request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Pradipta Kumar Nanda, to kindly tell the audience and also in the interest of today's speaker about our university. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sarma. I welcome Dr. Ghosh to this kind of the lecture series, and also for sparing his valuable time to share his insights regarding these maritime strategies. And I also thank Dr. Sharma, who is, I think, coordinating for all these SOAFAL series for last 69 lectures. Uh, as far as the university is concerned, this is a initiative taken long back. Uh, in fact, this is for the particular theme, and Dr. Sharma is organizing that maritime studies. Before that, it was exactly on different themes. And at the same time, during COVID, we started across the departments that every department must organize, hold a specific lecture, weekly lecture in their own areas of interest. I think grouping in all uh, experts from India and abroad as well. I think many people from abroad has delivered lectures in different departments of our university in different disciplines as well, not only engineering, medical science, in all the sciences, pharmaceutical science and all. Our university also, besides this lecture series which was mooted in COVID, also have usual faculty journal clubs which were active for some time, now also will be active. University has now 10 institutes in its ambit, 10 disciplines, right from Faculty of Engineering, Medical Science, Life Science, Pharmaceutical Science, Agriculture, Law, Veterinary Science we added 2022, and School of Hospitality and Faculty of Hospital and Tourism, and Nursing, Dental Science. I think we have 10 broad disciplines. I think disciplines helping 16,000 students pursue their study in different disciplines, and 1,400 faculty members are engaged in academic and research with 5,000 supporting staffs. Our university is ranked 15th in the NRF ranking this year, 23, and consistently it is there in top 25 for last 7 years from the inception of the NRF ranking. Also, it is there visible in the international ranking of THE. The world university, it is 800 to 1000 bracket, and in the ACR ranking, it is 300 to keep. In QS, it is 1200 to 1400 ranking, and in QSSCI, it is 400 to 500 ranking. So it is visible internationally. We have 154 MOUs and 39 MOUs with foreign universities and foreign institutes. We have many adjunct professors from different universities in India and also abroad. And our research record also, we have conducted more than 530 conferences, workshops, seminars, and all kind of different workshops in different disciplines. Recently, we conducted two mega events, national event in our university, Grand Literary Fest, as well as Indian National Academy of Engineering Convention will be organized here in December. Also December, the Grand Literary Fest. Our research record actually focus grows exponentially. Currently, we have 11,700 in fact Scopus Index publications, and per year we are 1,800 Scopus Index publications with average impact factor 3, and we filed 410 patents, 49 patents have been granted, 10 designs, 11 designs have been registered. We have 115 research projects currently running to the tune of 75 crores in our university. We are now focusing on interdisciplinary research because of the disciplines and connecting collaborative research with all different institutes in India and abroad. With this brief note about the university, I once again thank Dr. Sharma and welcome Dr. Ghosh to start his lecture.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now it's my pleasure and privilege to request today's speaker, Dr. P.K. Ghosh, to kindly give his 70th oration on the topic of maritime threats and challenges and power dynamics in the Indian Ocean region, some Indian response strategies. Sir.
Good evening, and at the very outset, I must profusely thank firstly Professor Nachiketa Sharma for giving me this wonderful opportunity to speak to such a bright lot of students and across the board. And I must also thank the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Pradipta Kumar Nanda, for gracing this occasion. It's such a pleasure to hear that the university has been doing so very well, and so many patents and so much of research is going on. And of course, to Professor Sharma for taking this initiative on the maritime scenario. And I feel honestly so nice when I hear that the universities are doing so much of research on maritime issues, because that is the thing that we had in our mind when we set up the NMF. And that was the main thing. We want to reach out to everybody across the Indian subcontinent. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Um, I will be speaking on the maritime threats, and as you know, the papers have been rife with some of the events that are going on in the northern Indian Ocean. That, in fact, I thought I will just include it. It happened since the last few days, so I've included the last bit about it. All this is happening because of the changing power dynamics in the Indian Ocean region. And what are we as a country doing? So first, I will cover, probably slightly fast, the broad contours. Then I will come down to a little more the nuances, the specificities, and then if you have any questions in the end, please tell me. I will try to cover whatever is there in your mind. This is especially for the students that are looking at it. And so initially I might go a little fast, then I will come down a little slowly. And if you feel that something is not very important, then I can skip that. Or if you feel something is really important, I will go into as much detail as you want. Uh, and I'll try to make it as interesting as possible, because this has been my bread and butter. This is what has been the raison d'etre for me reaching out to everybody. Well, having said that, and I would also like to thank Professor Sharma for the very kind words that he said about me. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, we start off with the power dynamics. What is happening? As actually, there is a jostle for power in the Indian Ocean region. Now, there is a power transition, in fact, in the entire Asian continent, but this is being played out in the Indian Ocean region. I know the most used construct is the Indo-Pacific, but I have written a very lengthy article in the Naval Review of the United States Naval War College, where I have detailed out as to India's perception of the Indo-Pacific and how we actually look at the Indian Ocean region as the Indian Indo-Pacific region, and what are the nuances. But I'm not going into details because this has already been covered. So I will just, so what is happening is that firstly,
Sir, your voice is lost.
I think he is disconnected.
Sir, you are disconnected. Let me call him. So there is a connectivity issue from the speaker side, so please have patience before he fixes it.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry, I.
No issue, sir. No issue. Yes, you are very much audible, but your
Oh,
video has not come out.
okay. Why?
Your voice is okay. Just or you can please share the screen so that on the background also you can start speaking.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But I don't know,
We
it
are
says camera has been disabled. I don't know
uh,
why.
and just wait, just wait. Have you joined? Or you, one thing you can do, you just leave out and again join fresh, so that we can give you the
Okay.
just wait, sir, just wait, just wait. Uh, you will give me.
Ah, can you see
Yes,
now?
yes. Now please share your screen.
Yeah. Oh,
There will be this share button.
yeah, is it okay?
Yes, it has come out. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. I will, I don't know where I finished, but
Uh,
it'll go ahead.
yes,
So
this
I'm
slide
not
is.
going to go back.
Yes, please.
I will not try to show the previous this thing because it'll go.
Okay.
This is the third slide.
You can start it from here, sir. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So as I said, I'm sorry for this interruption and this, I'm really sorry. Anyway, so as I said, just briefly, that there is a power struggle in the Indian Ocean region, and US is overstretched. And can you see the screen?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Can you
sir.
see?
Yes, the screen is
Okay,
visible.
Screen tab पूरा
Screen is
okay,
visible, sir. Please,
okay. So there is power struggle, and India has emerged as a reluctant major player in the construct, um, especially against a rising China, which is trying to get the this thing is a string of pearls. Probably later I'll tell you that that word was coined when we were having tea with somebody known as Julie McDonald Donald of the bar, that is Booz Allen Hamilton. We were sitting and we coined this word. She had come initially, but that's a long story. Let's not get into anecdotes. Um, so, and the other powers are, of course, Australia, South Africa, and Indonesia. They are also major players, but they are also jostling for this power, this thing. All this is against a backdrop where there is a demand periphery for the energy thirsty countries, like which includes China, India, Japan, which heavily rely on the energy lifelines which come from the resource heartland of West Asia. You may call it Gulf, you may call it West Asia, you may call it Persian Gulf, different constructs, slightly different, but I will not go into details of that. So now, what is happening is, of course, the Chinese PLA Navy is playing a much more active role. I will come to that slightly later, but let us keep it at that. And so is the power projection capability. Now, um, the economic mass of India and China, of course, would lead to a reconfiguration of the geopolitical space, and not the Quad. I've got an entire lecture on the Quad, but the most important strategic triangle, and let's keep that in mind, is Beijing, Delhi, and Washington. And let's not, especially in the Indian Ocean, region. So I'm not trying to boost ourselves up, but that is true. I can deal that in detail probably later on. Problem is that along with the rise of maritime trade, there is also a rise of crime. As you would have seen recently, piracy has again come up, etc., etc. But we will come to that slowly. So there is a demand periphery, which includes China, India, Japan, and there is the transportation of energy along the lifelines from the resource heartland. Now, both countries have common strategic objectives which revolve around the keenness to define their roles in the geostrategic matrix and influence the area and the littorals. And both countries would like to be, both means India and China, major international players in the Asia Pacific. Remember, I'm not using the construct of Indo-Pacific purposely. But they are also sensitive. We are very sensitive to our sovereign independence from outside influences. Well, having said that, this is the great power dynamics which is being played out. I will deal with it in considerable detail slightly later, where is the over here Djibouti has also got this the Atok place, but there are a lot of constraints for the PLA in Djibouti, and please don't go blindly what the Western analysts say. That is, Djibouti, the Chinese have taken over and they are having an excellent base over there. There are problems. Similarly, along the African coast, there are lots, but like I said, I'm not dealing with it in detail at the moment. Later on in the question answer session, we can. And then, of course, the popular, like I said, the string of pearls, which we coined because Julie was wearing a string of pearls in that time, and we said, why not give this name, and it stuck. So with that, very quickly, now the threats, because that is what we are going to deal with it, and the hierarchy of relevance, as I say it. You see, maritime threats and their response strategies should be viewed holistically and within the matrix of the nation's interests, relevance, and priorities. What may be relevant to you or a smaller island nation may not be relevant to me as a big country. So we have got to understand this, that the hierarchy of relevance, what is the priority that other countries give and what is the priority that we give. And we have got to come to a common denominator. Now, this can be interpreted as episodic. Sometimes the relevance goes up of a particular thing, like piracy, and sometimes it comes down, again like piracy, or like terrorism, maritime terrorism. Some are relatively permanent, like coastal security. They are non-episodic. Now, I will not go into the definitional aspect because I have a lot to cover and I've already missed some time. So, I am a little circumspect about how do we define. People normally tend to define all traditional analysts, traditional maritime security threats and non-traditional maritime security threats. State actors, non-state actors. Nowadays, unfortunately, all of that is getting blurred. That is why I'm very, very circumspect, but I have given this over here. If you see this slide, what is non-traditional maritime security threats, undermine economic development, then of course national military capability, law enforcement agencies, and sanctions alone cannot contain it, and are caused by non-state actors. Now, the definitional aspect about non-state actors itself is a little vague. That is why, but I'm not going to get into such minute nuances. Now, what are the vulnerabilities in the Indian Ocean region? One is passage through choke points. As you know, at sea there are choke points. It may seem as if everything is wide and open, but the ships come through a particular choke point and then they go out. They follow a path, even though the seas are very wide, the oceans are wide. Any supply chain disruption, as is happening now in Red Sea, in the Suez Canal, can have a major effect on the economies of the littorals, as it is happening now. It happened when the Suez Canal was closed for a brief time because the ship ran aground. Now, unfortunately, in the IOR, Indian Ocean region, several of the littorals have single product economies. You see what's happening in West Asia. Petroleum, oil, petroleum, and energy is their single product, which makes them very vulnerable. And on top of that, you have a dangerous mix. That is, the littorals have potentially unstable societies and governing bodies. So this is a very important thing. I will quickly cover this. I will not be covering all of them. It's not possible. I need much more longer time, but I will briefly tell you of what they are. One is slot security, sea lines of communication, which carry the trade. All the ships, especially merchant ships, go on a particular path. I told you they go through slots. Piracy. I've written extensively on piracy. In fact, my special paper on the Somalian piracy was taken by the Indian MEA, and they took points from it and presented it at the UN Security Council. And I was closely involved with the UN rapporteur on piracy, especially as far as Somalia is concerned, Jack Lang, and I had given them a lot of. So my points were taken for trying to overcome this problem which was being faced from Somalia. Then I wrote, of course, even on the West African piracy, the Asian piracy, how there are different things altogether. And that was also sent to various governments in West Africa as a guideline. Now, how to overcome piracy. They say that if I hadn't been an academic, I would have been a pirate. So that's on a lighter note. Then there is maritime terrorism and interdiction of choke points. So maritime terrorism is what is happening now, or is it? How do we come to maritime terrorism? And what is happening is, with the Houthis, interdiction of slots. So I've got a slide on it. In case you want, I can go into a little more details on that later on. Then there are natural and man-made disasters, all these oil spills, natural calamities, maritime pollution. There are two types. Drug running. Oh my God, it keeps on going on. Especially you have, we are in the crescent of the drug running cartels. Illegal arms transfer. Security of overseas assets. Nowadays, most countries have got assets overseas, oil rigs, etc. How do you secure them? We have got Bombay High. So all the countries have got. So how do you delineation of maritime boundaries? That's a big thing in the South China Sea. I was involved at the track 2 level sea cap of trying to sort out this problem of the South China Seas, countries except China. So that's another thing. We had interacted with all the countries and we were trying to get it sorted out to a certain level, not the sovereignty issues, please. Then maritime disputes, poaching, that is IUUs, as it is known technically, and illegal migration. All these are maritime security threats and challenges. Piracy, like I said, it used to be at one time a very favorite topic of mine. It is now what we are concerned with is the one from Somalia. If you want, we can go into enormous amount of details for that. But the problem is that with globalization, with most of it coming through the seas, piracy has assumed a bigger problem. And we have put it down to a very large extent, especially the Somalian piracy. But there are other piracies also. Please don't armed robberies, as they are called. I'm not going into too much of technical details. That happens even in the Bay of Bengal. It happens off Bangladesh, and so on and so forth. So, and what is happening is extended maritime zones under UNCLOS, the naval responsibilities are increasing because everybody doesn't have a coast guard. This is a map which shows you as to what all is happening in the Indian Ocean. It's full of this map and the Houthis. You see all these husbands. These are all where the piracy has taken place as far as East Africa is concerned and Western Indian Ocean. It's bad. Then you had the Malaccan piracy. That's another school of piracy which has happened, which is now on the down because of eyes in the sky and extensive patrolling, in which Indian Navy was at least trying to be involved. Okay, then there is terrorism, but I'll come to that. I will skip this slide because, again, that's what essentially I've told you about, how interdiction of slots can have a disastrous, that is basically on slot security. I've already covered this for you. Disastrous effect on some of the economies. Now, piracy, as I told you, it was said that piracy is a 17th century problem that demands a 21st century solution. Andrew Sapiro, we had Shade, etc., and now we have the Americans again coming out with, I've already told you, it was because people found that it's much more lucrative to become a pirate, that is especially along the Somalian coast, than to carry out fishing, which was the traditional which was the traditional job. Now, maritime terrorism, that is what is the threat of the season, the flavor of the strategists all around. And I would just cover it in one more slide. You know what happened? You know, what is maritime terrorism? A lot of people will tell you maritime terrorism, maritime terrorism. Is maritime terrorism events which happen at sea or the ones which happen on the land, but they are connected to the sea because the terrorists come from the sea? There's a lot of difference in this. You remember what happened in Mumbai? So this is what I've told you, changing nature and texture of maritime terror. The current stress is on supply chain dynamics. How do you interdict them? You see, most of the terror organizations, and we have compiled entire this thing of, the maritime sector is very vulnerable because of the nature of the dimension. So what happens is the terror groups tend to attack, but only 5% of the actual attacks takes place at sea. What happens is they come via the sea, Here is the changing nature, as I'm telling you, and the attack on land. Now, this is the new dimension of maritime terrorism. So it's a new definitional approach that we have got towards maritime terror. Now, if you see and I keep going back to the Houthis in the Yemen, you see they are acting against a choke point where all the merchant ships are coming from land. Now, is that a maritime terrorism? We can debate it later on from your questions and answers. I've got I'm afraid you may not be able to see the details, complete details of all the groups, that what is their capability and how far they can really go. So let me tell you, most of the organizations have very little maritime terror capability. So that's one point. I've got a complete separate lecture on maritime terrorism as such, and where all they operate, what is their capability, what is the low point, what is the high point, etc. Okay. Now, what are the evolving dimensions of these terror, of this threats, etc.? One is we have come across, now each is a subject in itself. So I'm just, like I said, I'm covering the headlines. I'm not really going into details. Each is a lecture in itself. Each is a subject in itself. MDA, Maritime Domain Awareness, which was very rife a few years ago. Now we have achieved a certain degree of maritime domain awareness. Now they are even going down to underwater domain awareness. But let us restrict ourselves to the subsurface domain awareness, where you come to know where is each ship going. It's very important. Then you have Container Security Initiative. All the number of containers which happened, what happened is some terrorist organization used these containers to travel from one place to the other. So you have Container Security Initiative. You have counter-proliferation of the WMDs, that is weapons of mass destruction, through the PSIs. You have the ISPS code, the International Ship and Port Security Code. And the biggest problem, of course, which has been to a certain extent overcome, the FOCs, that is the flags of convenience shipping. You have Liberia, Panama, and all these countries which control the largest number of ships. Why? Because of flags of convenience. We have overcome it to a certain extent. Again, I'm not going into too much of details because these are highly technical issues. Then, of course, maritime military coalitions, as we are saying right now, it happened earlier, the EU NAVFOR against piracy. Then you have now the current coalition, which the United States is trying to cobble together against acts at sea by Iran, by Houthis, and what have you, pirates. Very quickly, man-made and natural disasters. This area, as you know, is prone to disasters, cyclones, typhoons, tsunamis. You know what happened in the tidal wave in 2004 and 2005. So many people were killed. So now, of course, we have taken a lot of action against it. Again, the national response capabilities at sea is slightly limited, but Indian Navy is in the forefront, and we are one of the biggest navies in the region. So obviously people look up to us. And by the way, our Coast Guard is one of the very few which can overcome oil leaks, etc., environmental disasters. And the way ahead is transnational cooperation. As I said, I'm not going into too much of details. Again, if you want, I can later on, that while you can theoretically send ships to other ports, practically there are problems. And like I said, Indian Coast Guard is in the forefront of maritime pollution control. Then, of course, you have maritime disputes. I told you, South China Seas, East China Seas, there have been skirmishes, it's been increasing, and China has been doing the salami slicing. Like I said, I was personally involved in trying to sort this out at the track 2 level amongst all the contesting countries as a track 2 diplomat of India. And we didn't really achieve much success, unfortunately, mainly because of the Chinese. And we reached out to the senior most in each of these countries and trying to sort out a base level. To a certain extent, it was, I would say, a mixed bag. Then the CBMs. I can go into, you see, people say, why don't we have confidence building measures in the region? The paradoxes, and please remember this, I've written about this extensively. You know, basic trust is inevitable if you want to have a CBM. In certain cases, even the basic trust is missing. So that's a CBM paradox, as I have named it, and that's how I have been talking about this. But yes, certain amount of CBMs can be put forth, as they have been in the South China Seas. Again, it's a very favorite topic of mine. Like I said, since one was involved in this, the DOC, the COC, etc. But I'm not sure if you're aware of those, so I will not go into too much of technical details on that. Now again, maritime CBMs at sea. I will not go into, these are generic issues. You have to collaborate between various countries, between the law enforcement agencies. You got to have nodal points, joint patrols, coordinated patrols, etc. And actionable intelligence. The intelligence is of various types, so actionable intelligence is what is required. Again, I've noted down some of the CBMs, Agreement on Fisheries, HADR, that is Humanitarian Assistance and Disaster Relief. Then, of course, collaboration of IAMSAR, International Aeronautical Maritime Search and Rescue. And I was telling you of COC and finalization. It's an unending process after the DOC. So what are the Indian response strategies? I will quickly come to this. We have formalized multilateral fora, and we are hell-bent upon going ahead with cooperative approaches within the maritime agencies. Please tell me in case I'm shooting over the time, because at times I tend to go off. Please tell me how much time.
You can take another 5 minutes to 10 minutes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I should be able to finish between that. Okay. In the maritime, thank you. In the multilateral fora, unfortunately, there exists only one supranational organization in the Indian Ocean region, and which looks into maritime security. And this may be because of the wide dissimilarities. And now, later on in the question answer session, if you want, I can go on into it as to why India has not joined the US-led multilateral Operation Prosperity Guardian. And that may be in everybody's mind, whoever is reading the newspapers. So we can discuss that as to why we haven't. It's damn if you do, damn if you don't. That's the hint. Okay. Now, I will not go into details. You have IORA, you have ASEAN. The CSCAP, incidentally, used to report to the ASEAN Regional Forum. It's a multilateral forum, and we used to report to the ASEAN Regional Forum, especially the ASEAN Regional Forum Summit meetings. So then you have the SADC, you have the ASEAN Maritime Forum, you have the ADMM and the ADMM Plus, and you have other plethoras like ASEAN Chiefs of Defense, then ASEAN Military Intelligence Exchange, and senior defense official meetings. Some of these I have attended, so I'm just sort of giving you the names so that you know that these organizations exist. IORA, unfortunately, it's more of a lame duck, but earlier it never looked into maritime security. But then it has come up with maritime security after the 11th Council meeting at Bengaluru long time back. I'm not going into that. IONS, yes, I was on the team which conceptualized IONS in NMF, Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. So we did the basic groundwork, and it's been a mixed bag. And I think a lot could have been achieved, but unfortunately now it's going on in spurts. We tried to ensure that China does not become an observer, but it has. And I tried to make out in the charter, but that's a different story. Subsequently, China has. So it began in 2008, modest beginnings, and we played it was our baby. And of course, I looked at various models before coming up with this IONS. But IONS is still very much there, and I think they're doing an okay job. I wouldn't go gaga about it. I wouldn't be euphoric about it. But at the same time, I'm not sure if it has gone down. Okay. I'm not going into ASEAN Maritime Forum, etc., etc. The ADMM Plus, what is their job? Because I don't have too much of time. Then finally, in the last 5 minutes, if I've got, I'll cover the Red Sea scenario. Shall I cover it? Is it okay, Professor?
Yes, please. Red Sea scenario, yes.
Okay. As you know, what is happening is the Houthi rebels under the leadership of al-Houthi. His full name is Abdul Malik al-Houthi. Very few people have seen him. He's not a figure whom you come across very easily. He has been trying to interdict. Earlier he said, or rather the Houthi rebels said, that they will only attack those ships and companies which are associated with Israel because of what Israel is doing to Gaza. And this was all in support of the Palestinians. But now as we see, all the ships are being attacked, and if not all, most of them are being attacked. And that's the problem, is that about 15% of the world shipping comes through the Bab el-Mandeb region, and you have the Suez Canal reporting 30 to 40% of reduced traffic. Now you must remember that the Houthis, like the Hezbollah, are the proxies of Iran. Iran has taken a back step. Though it's making a lot of noise, but it's taken a back step. And the Houthis, who are not connected to either Israel, they don't share a border, or Palestine, they don't share a border, but they want to attack the shipping which has come there. Why? Because they want to please their Iranian bosses. Now, as it is, they are operating in Yemen. Now, in Yemen, as it is, there is a civil war going on since, I think, 2005 or something, with the Saudi Arabians on one side, that is the main government, and the Houthis on the other. But the Houthis have already got Sana'a, which is their capital, and they are very well equipped. Don't go by the fact that they used to wear chappals and go around. So the problem is that the thing can escalate, and I was hoping, many of our analysts were hoping, that the thing will not escalate, but it has. Now what has happened is US, along with its coalition, has attacked Houthi strongholds in Yemen. Now, there is a big fissure which is coming. Italy, Spain, France, especially France, have backed out. They don't want to get involved in this. There's a spelling mistake. Oman, not Oman, but Oman, which has been an American backer, and they have actually been the mediators between the Houthis and all the others, is extremely apprehensive. Even the Saudis, who are actually anti-Houthi, are apprehensive. So you see, this is enlarging the conflict. So there are going to be a lot of strategic consequences. Will the Americans be able to take this and see this continuous enlargement in the West Asian region? So it's a thing to watch out. And as analysts, I would say these are very, very difficult times. And if the conflict enlarges, the entire West Asia or Persian Gulf, whatever you may call it, could get involved, and then it can be a bad scenario. But it's extremely complex, and in case you want, I can go into a lot more details. I just covered the basics, this thing. So finally, what is the conclusion? I've given a generic conclusion. Given the transnational characteristics of the challenges and threats, the response strategies require capability enhancement, which was one of the goals of IONS. Of course, we wanted to take everybody along. Cooperation, sensitivity to security concerns of other countries. Remember the theory of relevance? Please remember that at the back. What may be relevant to you may not be relevant to me. And what may be priority for you may not be priority for me. I'm talking as far as threats are concerned. In the background of a power struggle and distrust that is difficult to achieve, the differing capabilities and national priorities make the task complex. The efficacy of multilateral, bilateral forums on creating a just maritime order and stability has been a mixed bag, as is evident from the current scenario, especially in the northern Indian Ocean. Well, I hope I've not been too technical. At the same time, I hope I have at least given you a brief overline of what all can be achieved, what all is happening, and what all is happening, especially in the maritime dimension. Thank you. I have finished, and I hope.
Thank you, Dr. Ghosh. It was such a illuminating talk in the sense that you have covered you have presented before the audience a panoramic view of the entire Indian Ocean region situations, and I am wondering that I did not know that you are an expert in maritime this piracy and terrorism. Otherwise, you would have loved to listen to the Sumerian piracy and all other things. Maybe we don't have much time. Still 5 to 10 minutes we can have a few questions. There is a question in the chat box. The question is very long. Just I am giving the gist of that thing. Is this Maldives is a choke point, and recently Maldives association with the Chinese, especially because Muiju, the president, and he was elected on Go Back India slogan and all these things. So, do you think this will have a some disastrous consequences for India, because all these Lakshadweep and all these things have a much more what I will say, much more to eat what we are seeing on the surface. So, what is your reaction to this?
Okay, I will answer this. I just want to ask, we have an international audience or all Indians?
Yes. We have even even maybe we have got students from 35 different countries, even from Somalia also. But I am not sure
Okay.
whether the Somalian students are attending this. But we have got
Okay.
Uganda, Djibouti, West Africa, then the Tanzanian. So a lot of, maybe I think a couple of
Okay. Okay. Okay.
even the Syrian students are there, and I think just 1 month back we have a lecture by the Djibouti ambassador also.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
okay.
No, I will temper my answer accordingly. I will
Yes,
temper
yes,
my
yes,
answer
yes,
accordingly.
yes. That will be better.
Um,
Yes.
uh, yeah, you see, what has happened is um, the problem being that within Maldives, in Maldives, we had invested very heavily into Maldives. We have tried to take them along at all times. We have not only helped them against a coup, we have helped them in their times of need. We are looking after, they have got a huge easy. So we have got we have got some of our assets over there. Now the problem is that the current dispensation, and President Muizi is there, he's been elected. He has come home, that is, he's come to be the president on a wicket that says that, look, he wants to take on the Indian this thing and remove the Indian so-called presence, despite we being their close friends. Now, we are people who wouldn't like to interfere in the internal politics of the country. At the same time, we would like to impinge on their sovereignty. But we have made a lot of investments. We have made investments in Alalega, which is another story altogether, probably some other time. So the thing is that it's now doing a tightrope walk. I do hope that the Maldivians, now please remember that the Maldivians look to India for a lot of things which are not, that sheer aspect of we'll get the Indians out and in which place the Chinese could come in. But the problem is that they even come to us even for medical tourism. All the medical facilities are not there. We have built hospitals there, etc. Their airport, this thing, their bridges, etc. So I do hope that once Muizi comes on to really realize how much is our contribution, he will be a little, he will distance himself from the rhetoric which he gave when he was actually calling for votes. Somehow the Maldivian people have voted him in power. Fair enough. I have interacted with President Najib earlier personally, and I think there will be a realization where they will realize, despite Muizi going to Xi Jinping and talking to him and requesting him for a lot of aid, I think you really can't overlook the Indian presence. So there will be a sort of rationalization, and I hope this will come through sooner than later.
Actually, very right. Thank you so much. Because the demands of real politic and administration will definitely bring Mr. Muiji to his senses. You are very right. And the slogans when he was asking for votes and when he is elected, and the pressure of administration and all these things will definitely make the things a U-turn very sooner than we can imagine. Very rightly pointed out. Now you see,
He's even
you
fallen out with Yamin. He's even fallen out with his mentor, with Yamin. So you can
yes,
see
yes,
what's happening.
yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
Sorry, I
Uh,
interrupted.
actually, I am really curious to know why you have consciously used Asia Pacific instead of Indo Pacific.
Yes. um, the Okay. Actually, this is a very sensitive point.
Yes.
Like I said, I have entire about what 6,000 word or 7,000 word in the Naval Review, and where we gave a detailed rationale of what is the Indian perspective of the term Indo-Pacific construct.
Hmm.
Now, the most of the people use the construct Indo-Pacific at the drop of a hat rather than Asia Pacific or Indian Ocean region, which is a
Yes.
more. You see, in very brief, like I said, I'm not going to go into too much of detail of why I said this. The thing is that our capabilities, that is soft power and hard power, how does our area of influence or area of influence come around? When we talk, everybody talks of Indo-Pacific, but in our mind, we have got actually the Indian Ocean region. That too, our capability to play, that is realpolitik, by the way, a very defining role even at the farthest reaches of Indian Ocean region is limited. So, while it is true that we have got the Quad, we are one of the most, of course, Quad is a non-military forum, that's a separate issue, but everybody is talking of Indo-Pacific, but we have to build up our hard power capabilities to play a defining role in the Pacific Ocean region, which we are still in the process of making. We haven't yet reached there. We can play a defining role. We are playing it up to, should I say, the South China Seas. But beyond that, and South China Seas is more or less Indian Ocean, they say. It's an extension of Indian Ocean. But Pacific Ocean is still not. So Indo-Pacific essentially, and then I have gone into various details of, you see, the borders of Indo-Pacific have never been demarcated. Everybody has got a different definition of Indo-Pacific as far as geography is concerned. And we have a different understanding. The East Africans, when I have gone over there, they have a different understanding. So I think that is why I have used the term Indian Ocean region and the earlier term Asia Pacific. You already had a lecture on Indo-Pacific, so I didn't want to repeat that. But having said all this, I'd be perfectly happy to include Indo-Pacific into the next what you call discussion. And let me also mind you, there have been people who have been branding about saying that, because I've done a lot of research on this Indo-Pacific, saying that we gave the name Indo-Pacific. It is not true. The Indo-Pacific name comes from Hoshover, the 18th, 19th century. He was a British, this thing, who had looked into this, and he came around with this entire construct of Indo-Pacific. And anybody who tells you anything else is talking through his hat. So Indo-Pacific construct has been there earlier. The Americans built it up, and now it has become the flavor of the month. Fair enough. We will go by it. Even the Prime Minister agrees to it. Fair enough. We will go by it. But like I said, our capabilities in reality, realpolitik is um, not really in the Pacific region, but we are building it up. And I hope very soon we are there to play a defining role in the Pacific region also.
Thank you so much. I am very happy, and you will share my emotions. You will also agree with me that at least India probably in now there is a maritime awareness and literacy at least among the students, and after these 20 lectures, many of our students have shown real interest in topics maritime, and because we are running short of time, so we will not be in a position to take more questions. But one last question, like in the East Africa, you mentioned the Somalian piracy. Is there the piracy also in West African part?
Oh, yes, yes, very much. In fact,
Oh.
in the Niger Basin and the Nigeria,
Niger Basin and
Nigeria faces a lot of problems and much more dangerous actually.
oh,
It is, uh,
okay.
there is a monograph of mine on this West African piracy, which we had sent to most of the West African nations too when I was in ORF, and which we gave guidelines as to how to overcome this. Oh, there is a lot of piracy there, and they are probably the most violent out of all the other schools of piracy. This piracy has got different schools.
Right.
Schools means thought process.
Yes, yes.
You know,
Mm.
Somalian, Asian piracy. Amongst Asian, there are various divisions. Bay of Bengal piracy, the Bangladesh thing, which is basically armed robbery, Malaccan piracy, and so on and so forth. So their piracy, West African piracy, is the most violent piracy that is existing now. I'm not talking of the piracy in the South American region. That also has got shades, but different reasons. It was all piracy, but totally different things which happen in each of these areas.
Yes, okay. So I think we should stop here. So let me echo a vote of thanks to today's speaker on behalf of the university outreach cell and university itself. We are extremely grateful to today's speaker, Dr. P.K. Ghosh, who could find time to speak to our students and to faculties, and I hope in the near future, because the lectures will not be the end in itself, definitely we have a plan to materialize it into a center for integrated maritime studies and research. So at that time your expertise this university will like to use um, for designing a very good maritime courses. So I am extremely grateful to you, sir. On behalf of the university, I am again thankful for your kind
Thank you. I'm
attention.
always available. No problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
And
sir.
thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. The meeting is over.
Thank you.